All right, everybody. Hey, it has been a while since I have done 20 minutes with Bridgette. I'm going to do two different videos today, kind of about similar topics. The first one I'm going to do is kind of about the clavicle. So I've been I've been super busy. I've been doing a lot of going deeper into my personal healing work. I think we're at a point in time where just everything, every time I'm out somewhere, like a leaf will go blowing by, or the leaf will be blowing that way, or the river will be talking to me, that it's, I'm walking this way. And there's just this sound, statement on the wind. It's let go, let it blow back, and or blow across, or like dry leaves on the ground, and just different signs of it's just really time to let go. I mean, in nature, um, everything has to let go at a certain point, right? When the sap starts to, the trees all get dry and fall off and blow away. That's the end of that leaf. That leaf will never be ever again. And then the sap goes down into the ground, and the tree even kind of goes to sleep, or we could say ends that cycle, ends that lifespan, and then starts over when the water goes back up into the tree, because the tree doesn't know really what kind of conditions are going to happen during its wake up period. So last month I've just been doing lots of work around just letting go at every turn and not holding on to things. And I have to remind myself, like, yeah, I don't want to think about that. I don't want to think about that person. I don't want to think about that event. And you know what? It's behind me. It's been long behind me. And then just take a stance, and stopping that recreation process. So that's kind of like where I've been at. So probably 20 minutes with Bridgette's going to be a little bit of a hit and miss. I am going to be uploading some other videos. I'm doing a private health talk bi-weekly starting this week on Thursday with friends and clients of mine. We'll see who shows up. And then I'll be posting those only on Patreon. They'll only be accessible on Patreon. So yeah, so there you go. All right, so I wanted to talk about the clavicle. Right now, also, too, I've started a program that I wanted to take a while ago, but just wasn't feasible, but because everybody's going online. So I'm getting to study with somebody who is incredible. And I'm doing another upgrade in my osteopathic education. So, and it's a lot. It is a lot, but I can do it. So right now I finished the first week, and that's a month, and then I'll do the working on people and getting accustomed to adding some of these techniques in. And then next month I've got a course, and then I have a couple months off, and then December and January. So it'll be good because the two courses kind of go together. So it's a lot of work. So yeah, so I'm working on the dog and people that walk by, and whoever and wherever. And I even had a dream about that I could do it energetically. Like I could do it to balance a planet. I could do it to balance, the parasympathetic nervous system of a planet, a state. Yeah. So after this dream, like, I do a lot of stuff energetically, right? I do a lot of medicine work. My teacher Bobido taught me a lot of earth healing work, and so I do a lot of energetic restructuring of energy fields and physical, mental, emotional, energetic fields. So I was kind of shown how I could also kind of use this technique to balance out other things too. So I could use it kind of in a different kind of structure. Okay, so I want to talk about the clavicle. And so I've been doing a lot of, my hands are starting to heat up and sweat. Been doing a lot of work with the clavicle because in this class, you know, there were some things that were pointed out, like, you know, the clavicle is one of the first bones to actually form. So you're a polywog, you know, you're like a polywog because you have a brain and your spine is forming, your tooth buds. And then the first bone to actually form is the clavicle in front. So that's the moment you kind of go from aquatic to moving into a different structural process, right? So, because the head can't lift up and you stand without that clavicle, right? So then everything else starts to form. So, good, bad, or indifferent, that clavicle, it's also really helped me because you know, over the last 5 years, I get calls to work on, I've taken time off. I mean, obviously COVID, people are freaked out and kind of focused in on that. But, you know, before that, for about 5 years, I was working heavily on babies. Babies had, you know, spines of a 50-year-old man who did hard labor his whole life. And there's a lot of reasons for that. So it really kind of, you know, really started kind of honing back in on, you know, babies and what they need, and it's hard to talk to them, and they're like animals, you know, it's unspoken, but you can get instant results helping them, you know. So this clavicle work's going to be really important that I did in helping to work with babies as soon as they're born. So if the mother is under high stress, which, you know, with this COVID thing, a lot of people are pregnant, it's going to be increased stress. And, you know, we know from Bruce Lipton's work, Nature versus Nurture, I think he did a 4-part lecture, 4-hour lecture. And where he talks about all the studies prove that whatever happens to, you know, the fetus in utero is basically how it's going to develop. So genetics play 10, 20, 30%, where, you know, 90, 80% is cellular. And because the baby can't look out of the uterus and say, you know, I think you're blowing this all out of proportion, it's in the long haul because of all the hormones that the mother is secreting, that it causes the development of the fetus. And that might be something we can talk about more later. But so the clavicle is super important because it takes you back to, you know, forming you as a human. And so the clavicle has all that information in it. And it was really interesting because during this last course, this osteopathic upgrade course, there was a meditation that was done. And it kind of surprised me at how much stuff was, you know, still in my clavicle. So my mom was little, thin, tiny, and like, you know, 5'4", 5'5". And I was like 10 pounds, 3 ounces. And so they didn't really know about gestational diabetes and things like that back then. So I got stuck in the birth canal 18 hours. And it got to the point where they just didn't, I think, really thought I would survive anyway. And they were trying to save my mom. So they ended up breaking my right clavicle. I still have it took me a long time doing osteopathic work to figure out that that's what had happened, why I have issues there, right? Was because of, you know, a force break to a soft bone drop the shoulder to make you kind of thinner to kind of pull you out. And then they used forceps wherever they could keep grabbing onto my head to pull me out. So, you know, they kind of pretty mangled my head. So there wasn't a lot of expectation about, you know, how I would develop. So, and yeah, and that's a whole other, you know, conversation. But I ended up kind of finding out, I mean, there was a lot of issues with my mom growing up, but I ended up kind of figuring out what my part of that issue was because my mom was really stressed out during the whole pregnancy. She actually was sort of like ran over by a car and her legs got broken. And just a lot of crazy stuff happened to her, you know, high stress. And so, and then, you know, this, I'm being born and like there's more stress. So my mom always had this kind of overwhelming feeling about me that I was like, you know, kind of causing trouble, right? Like more problems for her. And I could see, because this was kind of like a theme of the external environment on her while she was pregnant, right? So in my clavicle during this meditation, I discovered that that I had some crazy abandonment issues, especially in here where the, you know, bone was broken. And then it also turned into betrayal, because she just allowed them to do whatever, you know, they needed to do, and almost like energetically at that point, when she figured out that I was going to be maimed and mutilated and whatever else, there was like this pulling away from dealing with me from that point. So there was like this trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder, you know, event, and her having to constantly just, you know, because of all the terror that was involved with me being born. And then I had this betrayal in there because she betrayed me. She wasn't with me and she wasn't for me, and she wasn't trying to stop them from further damaging me and her. And she wasn't really taking it into her own hands. And I realized, because she felt extremely disempowered as a person and a woman already, you know, and because of the things that had, you know, happened to her in her own life. But it was interesting because the clavicle told me the story of the whole relationship I had with my mom, and that, you know, the abandonment, the distancing, her inability to really, you know, love me or protect me. And because I was always like confused about her relationship with my sister, which was like totally the opposite of, you know, what I was raised with, right? But it was a totally different birth, and it was a totally different pregnancy, and yeah, so it was completely different, right? So I think that whatever happens as a fetus, and now, and whatever happens, the development of that fetus and then the birth, has a lot to do with the clavicle, and all that information can be stored in the clavicle, right? Whether people have worth or no worth. And you have to realize that this is unverbal, right? This is not stuff that you can figure out because it's unverbal, right? It's unverbal. So anyway, so through the meditation, you know, I was really kind of traumatized after the meditation. Took me a few days to kind of, you know, while I'm trying to carry a 18 CEU load in 3 days, it was a lot. It was a lot, but it really has changed me in my relationship to my clavicle. And so, you know, just, you know, if you get a chance, I mean, you're going to feel your clavicle doesn't match like right here in this U thing, but, you know, give it a little love, you know, because it's been through a lot. And it is one of the emotional keys to this car that you're driving around, and how good it's going to run. And, you know, go back, there's the K27 video. So a lot of this, you know, has to do with your energy field, your relationships outside of yourself, the world outside of yourself. So, you know, massage these bad boys. Yeah, give them some thanks and gratitude, and, you know, ask for stuff to surface. So just want to remind people that I do online sessions and in-person sessions. And I took some time off because of the COVID, but I actually took an extra 2 months off. But if you want to have a private session and you want to work on some of the stuff even online, you can send me a message. All right. So you can send me an email to consciousnessofelconomics@gmail.com, and check out my website, coe-llc.com. And yeah, so, you know, give your clavicle some love, because it's also in that heart area, right? So yeah, just give your clavicles, be nice. Don't pound them. Don't do too much tapping. Just, you know, be kind. Be kind. Be kind to yourself, okay? And be kind to your clavicles. All right. Okay, everybody, that's it. 20 minutes with Bridgette. I just kind of felt like this was kind of an important video to put on. And maybe some of you are working with some of these issues or needed to hear this. So hope you have a great day. Bridgette Lindalgoff. It's been 20 minutes with Bridgette. Today's August 27th, 2020. And, you know, be tender and kind with your clavicles, right? So that you can get them to release, so you can get things to release in your outer world, your inner world, your physical world, your mental world, your emotional world, right? So anyway, that's it. Have a great day. Thanks. Bye.